Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Ted Padromo, and this is David Brooke. Welcome.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
I forgot how we met. Was it a couple months ago?
Actually, good question. We met through my virtual assistant who was aware of you through another company I think that you use as well, VBS Systems and virtual. And she said, you need to talk to this guy. By the third time she said it, I said, oh gosh, I better follow up on this. So of course I followed up, and I just did a video yesterday about ghosting and follow-up. People are lousy with follow-up. So I thought the least I can do is I was waiting for her to say, Ted, have you followed up with Ted? And if I said no, I'd be embarrassed. And so, so we both do a lot of the same types of things. And then, of course, I think LinkedIn has been an important platform for both of us. So it was a great connection.
Yeah. Actually, one of my clients introduced me to Christine, who you work with, and she works with a lot of my clients. And she's awesome.
Love Christine. Love Christine. In fact, she used to be in the area. I live in the Seattle area, and she used to be in Puyallup, and then they moved to Colorado, I believe. But it was nice to actually meet her in person, which is kind of more rare in the virtual world.
Yeah, not so virtual world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're going to talk about gratitude today. I love that.
You bet. You bet.
Tell me how you got started with Ingratitude.
Well, thanks for asking, Ted, and thanks again for inviting me. And I had a number of tragedies and traumas happen throughout my life, which a lot of people have. So there's nothing special there. But I remember thinking along the way as my mom had passed away, and then my dad took his life, and my wife passed away later, various things that happened. And I thought, I am going to need some sort of a formula or some sort of help to get through this. And a good buddy of mine one day suggested, this is even before I thought of gratitude. He said, have you ever thought of a gratitude journal? And I said, I haven't even heard of a gratitude journal. And what is that? He says, well, it's a journal you write what you're grateful for every day, and it can really help you. So it really started the journey to, I call myself that gratitude guy, David George Brooke, that gratitude guy. I've been doing this for about 10 years now professionally. And it really, really helped me. And so I thought, gosh, if this thing helps me, it's going to be able to make such a difference with people. And I think we had the title today, why we could use a gratitude journal now more than ever. And it just made such a big difference. And I think, honestly, what made probably the biggest impact was the fact that so many people I've known, we all struggle with life. It's a roller coaster. The entire life is, especially when you've got to be is the number of decades that you and I've been around, Ted. And you've had a lot of struggles we've all had. So what do you do when you're on the low part of the roller coaster? And unfortunately, my wife, for instance, passed away of a prescription pill overdose and got hooked on painkillers. She was only 38. And I've lost other friends to alcohol and pills and drugs and all sorts of things. So I propose gratitude, and specifically a gratitude journal, as something that can help you. And it's a very healthy coping mechanism in a world of so many destructive and deadly ones that kill people all the time. And then when you and I connected, I was thinking about the pandemic, because we're roughly 18 months into that. And now we're worried about the Delta variant and so forth. So now, maybe even more so, it's more important to really focus on what you're doing in terms of helping yourself and really being able to sustain a positive attitude in a bunch of negative worlds that we're in, because gosh, people are dying and suffering and all these different things. So it's really a challenge, but it gives somebody a really great tool every day to use. And one of the things I tell people, I've done a number of gratitude journals over the years. This most recent one's called That Gratitude Guy's Daily Gratitude Journal. And there's a little note on the inside, the second or third page, that says, if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. And there's something so powerful about, I even wrote this morning, I'm grateful for Ted for inviting me on his LinkedIn Live and so forth, that it plants it in your brain, and therefore it can give you such help when you're having a lot of struggles. So it's a very powerful tool.
Here's mine.
Excellent. I like to see that.
I learned this from Perry Marshall years ago. He started me on the gratitude journal. Just write something down every day. And it really hit home with me when my brother-in-law got sick. He had a stroke and lost his sight. And then he was on dialysis for 10 years. And then he lost a leg from diabetes. And he was the most positive person in the world.
Oh, isn't that
He'd
something?
say he'd wake up in the morning. He actually lived with us for 3.5 years because he needed someone to take care of him. He'd wake up and says, I'm grateful I woke up today.
Gosh, isn't that great? I was talking to a friend recently that knew of somebody. I can't remember if it was a friend or a friend of a friend, but it was a quadriplegic and the best attitude of anybody he'd ever encountered. So something like that is really powerful. And I think that too, when you mention you write in yours every day and you have the gratitude journal, one of the things I like about the one that I've done is it's got a structure to it. It's got actually kind of a template, and you can start out every day and you can write your, day and date, and then your daily number, which is where you kind of assess, like take your temperature 1 to 10. And then you write the current events or special occasions you've got going on, so you don't need a diary. And then there's 5 or 6 lines for what you're grateful for, and those can be a sentence or bullet points. And then there's your highlight of your day, which if you write in the morning was from yesterday. If you write towards the end of the day, it's for that day. Then there's a little quote that has a little gratitude quote at the bottom. And then on the right is your gratitude intentions, which is what you're going to be grateful for that hasn't even happened yet, because your subconscious mind, which sits in your prefrontal cortex, cannot distinguish between what it thinks has happened and what actually has happened. So you can program it. And so it really makes it a difference. It's sort of like thinking forward, but having that template. And then the very last thing on mine, then you write your daily number again. And on most days, it's gone up just by spending that 5 minutes to write what you're grateful for. Like your friend said, just getting out of bed. And so I've noticed I'm usually an 8, 9, or a 10. And if I'm an 8 and I write in my gratitude journal, and then I notice at the end, after I write, I'm a 9. So it's really shows how impactful it can be.
Yeah, it seems silly in a way just to write that out, but it really, when the act of writing it really makes it sink in. Makes it
Exactly. And I
real.
think it also really creates a positive mindset. And I know that when I was growing up, I'd hear about PMA, positive mental attitude. And what's that? And so I followed a lot of speakers and a lot of motivational speakers, and Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen and the like. And they all talked about a positive mental attitude. And I thought, well, what is that all about? And then I started realizing the power of that, because it's been documented and shown in studies. 2 people go into a hospital with the same disease. The positive attitude lives, the negative attitude dies. And so
Right.
it's just, I think it's that important back to your actual life, and then maybe the quality of your life in the meantime.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. So
I like your structure too. That's a great way to do it.
yeah, thank you. I call it just kind of a template because it's easy to follow when you don't have to think about, well, like, and that's why I like the idea that you can write. I'll always put, like on mine this morning, doing a LinkedIn Live with Ted, and I've got a couple of Zoom calls this afternoon. And so that you can put a couple of things in there so you don't have to have a separate diary. And it's really neat because I have a number of them because I've been doing it for 10 years. And these gratitude journals that I sell, they last about 3 months worth of entries. So I'll have about 3 or 4 for the year. But gosh, I've gone back on days that were really challenging for me. And I thought, boy, I remember when I had some tough stuff. And I looked to see what I wrote. And it was amazing, Ted, how I went back to, you know what, today I'm happy for a roof over my head, for a hot shower, for a warm bed, for food in the refrigerator. And it's important because we all get, I like the word caught up. We all get caught up in these things, and we really forget the basics. And just another thing I've come across every so often is how grateful we are to have friends. And I'll meet people from time to time that it sort of comes out, they don't have any friends. And I think, how did that happen? Because our family and our friends are so often the core of our support system, and that helps. And then you have one of the other reasons I like a gratitude journal so much too is it's always there. I mean, you can count on it. It's always there. It's right by your side or your bed or what have you. And I've had a couple of times where I was in some real challenging situations, and I called about 4 or 5 friends that said, always call me if you need to talk. Every one of them went to voicemail. So I went, so who am I going to talk to? There is nobody to talk to. So I guess I'll go write in the gratitude journal. At least that's going to stand by and focus on what I have. So it's nice because it's always there for you to be able to put down your thoughts and keep focusing on. In fact, my favorite term is gratitude turns what you have into enough. And I think it's so very important because you're focusing on what you have versus what you don't have. And it just, in 9 out of 10 cases, if not 10, it always gets you to a higher number and gets you thinking more positively.
Yeah, because you can get overwhelmed with like thinking of all the things you have to do on your to-do list, or you have to pay this
Exactly.
bill, or you're having some kind of health problem. But if you just
Exactly.
focus on the positive things in your life, it makes a huge
Exactly.
difference.
And I think too, speaking of to-do lists, we all have, I heard something recently, which I really liked, was when you see somebody's tombstone, you see great father, great friend, great son, great brother, wonderful person, but you don't see CEO of ABC Corporation, had a Ferrari. You don't see those things. You see what they were as a person. And so I think it's really important when we have those to-do lists and we're so busy. I'm a to-do list person. I have lists of my lists and things, but I want to keep track of all the things I've got going on. But then when you think about gratitude, I put it in maybe what I call my top 6 just daily things. Did you get enough sleep? Did you drink enough water? Did you get enough good nutrition? Did you exercise? Did you meditate? And did you write in your gratitude journal? I think just those 6 alone, you do those consistently, you'll be pretty mentally and physically healthy probably most of the time.
Yeah. And this is a big time to be doing this. Like I've people from the East Coast reaching out to me saying, are you okay with the fires in California right now? And I'm reaching out to them. Hey, you okay with the flooding that's going on and the hurricanes? Just that little reaching out to people and they you care.
Yeah.
You're grateful
and that's a great point, Ted, because we certainly won't get into any kind of political discussion to say of ourselves, but the political environment and the past, present, and the current president, all that has been far from easy. And I think, as you mentioned, the fires, there's so many things. And I find it such an easy path to go down the negative path. But I think it really takes more energy to get to neutral and then be positive. And I think when you do, I just think you have a better quality of life. And you can't get in somebody's brain and switch around the wires and have them like this wires. But there's just some people, for instance, I know I've tried to lighten up on him, but my father who took his own life, he was one of those that I'd say good morning to him and he'd go, what's good about it? And I thought, what kind of attitude is that with one of his 5 children that he's brought into the world and have this negative, but he always did. And he never changed his wiring. And so it's so important. And I notice with the gratitude journal and my talks, I do a lot of speaking and keynotes and workshops and breakouts and things like that, as well as coaching and videos and so forth and books. And I think no matter how many people are in the room, if I get one person to start thinking about gratitude, it's been a complete victory for that day to see how much of a difference it can make in your mindset. So important because it is a choice. And every morning we get out of bed, we can get out of the left side or the right side, be positive, negative, up, down, grateful, ungrateful. And nobody can make that choice for you except for you.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah. So
do you have a morning routine other than the gratitude journal? Do you meditate and do affirmations?
Yes, I do. Thanks for asking. I do have kind of I was thinking about it this morning, knowing I'd be seeing you at noon. And I was thinking there's always the get up and I do the meditation, the gratitude journal, pour up a couple of big tall glasses, like 20-ounce glasses of water. So I have those by midday. I try to have a gallon of water a day because I'm 6 foot, about 195. And that's about a gallon of water that for what they say, take my vitamins. Then I go do my gratitude walk, which is I go walk and I listen to podcasts and things like LinkedIn Live and Audible books and so forth. And then I record some videos, which I then put on different platforms like TikTok and YouTube. And I call it my daily gratitude walk. And it's just to inspire people to get out and exercise, because that's one of the 6 key things. And then also to have some sort of a subject. And I have something different every day. And yesterday was ghosting and follow through. And I go, what's up with that? Why don't people get back to people? I don't understand this. So as I said then, you don't have to give people an explanation, but you do owe them common courtesy. That's all. Sorry, Ted, I can't make it. That's it. But yeah, that's the routine. And I've kind of gotten used to it. And it even reminds me what they said in the service. This was explained to me one day why those beds had to be so perfect. And they said, once the soldiers, the military people got up, they made this perfect bed with the square corners. And before they'd even started their day, they'd already accomplished something. And that bed was made perfectly and the pillow and everything. So I think our morning routines is something really important. And another term I use for it, and I've used this in workshops, is pre-flight checklist, because I've been a pilot for a lot of years. And it's very important that you follow that pre-flight checklist, because if you don't, you can be up in the air and there could be the things that don't work out too well because you didn't check something when you're on the ground. And so I like the term daily checklist or pre-flight checklist or your morning routine. But I think most of us, it really benefits if we have something like that we can follow every day.
How long is your, about an hour, 2 hours, or?
Yeah, I would say that I started really doing the walking. I gained some weight and I wanted to get back to my high school weight of 185, 190. I was like 2.25. So I've now started walking for 2 to 2.5 hours a day.
Wow.
And it ends up being about 8 or 9 miles. But what's neat about it is because of Audible, because of podcasts, I do my own podcast every week, goes out Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. And the guests that I have and the phone calls I can make, the notes I can make, the things, it feels like I'm gone a half hour because I've got so many things going on and I love to listen. Gosh, I'm such a proponent on podcasts, and my podcast is That Gratitude Guy podcast every Tuesday at 5 a.m. on the Transformation Talk Radio Network. And I'm such a proponent of that because you meet the neatest people and you hear the most inspiring stories. And other than another thing I was saying to some fraternity brothers the other day, I don't listen to the news even 10% like I used to or follow it, but you find a podcast, pick a subject. LinkedIn, I know you're an expert there. Pick a subject. There are many podcasts on that. Gratitude, you can find my podcast and others. And so it's just amazing the wealth of knowledge that's out there in the form of a podcast. And then, of course, the Audible books as well. And you just have your AirPods on and I've got a long trail. I go down about 4.5, 5 miles and then make a loop and come back. So, and physically and mentally, emotionally, it's so incredibly healthy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Makes a huge difference if you get some exercise and just have like a routine, even if it's 30 minutes a day, just you're doing something and you get into the habit.
Yep. And I think once you got that routine done, I think it's sort of then the next phase to me is kind of like, what is your purpose? And one of the modules I teach is called Find Yourself, Find Your Talent, Find Your Passion, Find Your Purpose. And I think that those four things kind of link together. And I know you've definitely found yours. I've followed enough of your things since the time we met, and finding out what kind of relationship Ted has with Ted and make that sure that's solid and that morning routine helps all that. Then what's your talent? You have a talent for the platform, for LinkedIn, for the many things that you've done. Make sure you're kind of the square peg in the square hole. Then find out what you're passionate about. And I'm very passionate about gratitude. You're very passionate about LinkedIn and a number of other things. Those three things will probably take you to your purpose. And I think that I come across people every so often. It's just remarkable that I don't think they have much of a purpose. And I think it's sad because we're only here for a short amount of time, 6, 7, 8 decades, if we're fortunate. And it goes by real fast. And so what's your purpose? And so I think it's really neat. And for me, and I know you get this without even asking you this, is the amount of people that say something like, Ted, I was looking for somebody to help me on LinkedIn as an example. Nobody's ever taken the time to show me, and I've never seen it explained as well as you explain it. All those things. How do you put a price on what those comments feel like? Because it's just the best. It's just the best.
It is.
Yeah. So, but I think that's important. And I'm of an age where a number of my friends are retired or semi-retired. And truly, it never occurred to me until I got to this age about, I guess, how much we talk about our work, because I don't have that much to talk to them about sometimes anymore.
I know.
It's weird. And I'm so passionate. I know you are very passionate about it, about our work, that it becomes something. Guess what I'm doing? In fact, 2 weeks from today, I'm looking forward to being back out in person. 2 weeks from today, I'll be in Kearney, Nebraska for a talk. And then 2 weeks after that, Kansas City. And then 2 weeks after that, Las Vegas and at Los Angeles. And I'm starting to travel again. And it's so nice to get back out in front of people, to be spreading this message of gratitude and have actually live people. You can actually shook hands with somebody the other day, and we were both vaccinated, and I thought, gosh, that was something quite different.
I know. Cool. the little things.
Exactly. It makes such a difference. So but no, it's important to impact lives. I think people say, I want to make a difference, and I'm helping people. And I have often said, if you want to help yourself, help other people. That's very true. But that passion is something that I just think is neat when you find. And like when I met you, I remember when we first met on LinkedIn or on Zoom, and different communities I'm in, on some masterminds that I'm in. What's neat about it is the term that just covers it all is like-minded people. Yeah. You can just tell people that think they just want to make a difference and want to do things. And it doesn't matter what the subject is. It's just so neat to be around people that it's kind of like there's know-it-alls and there's lifelong learners. I want to be around the lifelong learners, and always learn something. So it's just a great community that I think you and I are fortunate to be in.
Yeah. You don't have to do a whole lot to change people's lives. Just
No,
acknowledge them, make
no,
them feel better, help them out. Don't expect
exactly.
anything in return.
Exactly. And I think something I noticed with you and your platform too is just tremendous amounts of education. The more you educate people, the more they will appreciate it. They'll come back in many cases to buy your products and services and that type of thing. But the initial idea is just to educate and teach as much as you can. And I always say I've done a number of books. I'm a speaker, coach, author, and teacher. And just the teaching part is just the best because you're getting somebody that you can transform their lives. You can show them, in my case, gratitude, how what a difference it makes. That it's so important that if you get this mindset, and so when you get that validation, the email, the note, the
Yeah.
text, whatever it might be, it's always the highlight of my day when somebody
Yeah.
says it's made a big difference. So it's very rewarding.
Just a simple little comment.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
I heard
Exactly.
something a while back. It was like the first third of your life you're learning, then the third you're doing, then the last third you're teaching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're in the teaching phase.
Yeah. Yeah. And taking advantage. That's why I've always thought it's so sad where when people, whether it's celebrities or rock stars or people that die early, just you don't really, I don't think you really get life till about 40 or 50, give or take. And as you said, then if you've listened and learned, then you can teach. And it's so rewarding to pass that knowledge on to other people and help them shorten their learning curve and get educated and find people that are equally enthusiastic about whatever the subject is.
Yeah. Find those like-minded people and life is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And that's why I get so passionate about gratitude is because I almost get militant a little bit about it sometimes when somebody says, well, tell me about this gratitude. And I'll tell them and they kind of poo-poo it or something. I say, well, let me ask you this. How's your plan working? How is that working for you? You know, and it was funny. I have these same fraternity brothers that I mentioned, they would sometimes they called me the Brooker, and so I have an old gratitude journal called the Brookers, and that was my nickname. So they say I need a dose of the Brooker, so they'd call me, and I was always the inspirational one or the guy that would motivate them, and so now they call. And I need a dose of the Brooker. And before they even go any further, I go, let me stop you. Have you written in your gratitude journal yet? And they go, no. So I just hang up. I just hit the off button and they call back like 10 seconds later. I think we got cut off. I go, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. I hung up on you. I said, write in your gratitude journal and then call me back. Because as I mentioned on the scale 1 to 10, if I go from a 7 to an 8 or 9 or a 10, that's just from writing in my gratitude journal and focusing on my blessings and my abundance. And so the rest of it is if you've got the friends, that's great. But that journal you can always count on. It's always right by your side, just like your leather bound one that you had. So such a great tool to have in our quiver, if you will.
I was going to compliment you because you answer your phone when your friends call you and then you hang up on them.
I know. So I am answering the phone, but I think the thing, Ted, that I used to say is that, you know, I'll be your training wheels when I'm not going to pedal your bike, you know, and I think the good Lord gives you a toolkit, but I think you have to build the house. I don't think you just get these things given. So we can give assistance. And I think it's just like you have students and people that have learned from you. The ones that excel the most are the ones that do the homework and the ones that follow through and get back to you and they do the exercises or the steps. And that's pedaling their own bike, you know, and the training wheels is good, but to really get effective and learn these things, you got to pedal your own bike. So it's very important.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This has been great. So where can we get our gratitude journals and learn more about you?
Well, thank you for asking. That Gratitude Guy is my website, thatgratitudeguy.com. And also, if you want to get onto my podcast, you can go to Transformation Talk Radio Network, and it's under That Gratitude Guy podcast. And there is a new podcast that comes out every week. But when you do, speaking of this gratitude journal, which is, I've done a number of books, but this is my top seller. If you go to the gratitude website, thatgratitudeguy.com, right when it pops up, you'll have an offer where you buy one, you get a second one half off. So that's kind of a nice deal because like I said, they last about 3 or 4 months. And so you can use it after the first one fills up or send it to somebody. And you can reach me at thatgratitudeguy.com for speaking, for coaching. I do a lot of coaching for books, for the gratitude journal and workshops, all that type of thing, because I just love spreading the gratitude message. And somebody asked me the other day, what's the what could make your life even better? I always think it's nice to ask somebody what their number is. And so they're an 8. Well, what would have to happen if it was a 9 or something? And one of the things for me is always more speaking opportunities, always more teaching, more coaching, more places to do my workshops. And because it's just fun, because you get to impact more people. I'm sure as you've grown, Ted, it's the same thing. More and more people know about Ted P. It's just that many more people that get exposed to all the knowledge you have.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been absolutely great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And thanks to everybody that was listening as well.
Yeah. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
All righty. Take care.